May next year. Yeah, these are some more photos of it. So, we made these giant circles. You can see these very modern minimalist villas. It's really cool. What I love about retreats is you can, it's like Lego. You can make it up however you wish. So in this case, we just created our own temporary neighborhood where we're all living next to each other in share houses by the beach. And it's incredible. So now that brings me to 2023. I think I got through this pretty good today, actually, in about 15 minutes. So that's wonderful. Let me know in the chat whether that all sounded good. Wow, I managed. Last time I think this took 30 minutes for me to get through, so I'm pretty proud that I managed to blitz through this. But this brings me up to 2023. This is where we are sitting here right now, and I want to just pass on as much as I can to you guys because this has been so successful for us, and it's only getting easier. And retreats are an incredible thing. They are life-changing. They are so much fun. They can give you as a coach some just incredible freedom and abundance. Great. I can see in the chat that everything's all good. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. And so I'm just here now to pass this on. So my mission is I know that running a conscious business, a business where you actually want to help people, it can be fucking challenging at times, right? Like you have all this good intention but you want to do it right. You want to do it aligned, and it can be really challenging sometimes because, you don't want to charge too much and you don't want to use, slimy marketing tactics, etc. So like I've been through this, trying so many different avenues and knowing that you have something of value to offer the world, but it just being so difficult. And then you see other people who have some business where it's just kind of like some crappy throwaway stuff and it's like blows up. You're like, okay, wonderful. Now, I also know how hard it is to live month by month. I've done that for the largest part of my life, especially when I went freelance, and I know the stress that comes with that. And I also know how life-changing retreats are. Like retreats are just the most incredible opportunity. So I just want to deputize and inspire as many people as possible. Like I want to see retreats happening all over the world every bloody week, because by the end of the week, everyone's like, oh my God, I've got 10, 20 new friends. I've learned something. I'm relaxed. I'm recharged. And especially the way the world is going these days, I'm an eternal optimist. I always think that the world is always getting better, but I can see that a lot of people are getting extremely stressed and cooked by, what's going on out there. And retreats are just a wonderful antidote to bringing people back down to earth and just healing people. So, I personally believe that when good people make good money, they do good things with it. I know that it's an amplifier. Abundance is an amplifier of whatever it is you do. And so that's why I just want to pass this on and inspire as many of you as possible. And retreats, I found, are just the most incredible vehicle for all of that. To me, retreats are really the holy trifecta. It's a rare situation because you have you have so much significance and meaning. It is such a valuable thing to do for people and for yourself, but it's also so enjoyable. Like you're actually hanging out with cool people, making friends and guiding people and having experiences, going on holidays to destinations, etc. Like what? Most people would do this kind of work for free if you gave them the opportunity. But then at the same time, it has generated the most financial abundance for myself out of everything I've ever tried. And I am a serial entrepreneur. I believe that, consistency and persistence and experimentation are the ticket to success. So I am relentless. I've just tried one thing after another. And then when I hit this, I was like, oh, okay, wow, this is kind of special because it gave me my time back and it doesn't feel like work. And suddenly I have, all these other pursuits that I can also pursue at the same time because I don't have to grind it out every single day. Okay, so let's phase shift now. And I'm going to jump right in. I hope you guys have a notebook because I've got a lot of gold to drop here. So first of all, let's just talk about what even is a retreat, right? A retreat is not something that's in a box. A retreat can be almost anything because when you think about it, and here's the thing, there's people in this space who have very clear definitions of what a retreat is. To me, a retreat is just, it's really like a group of friends going on a holiday with ideally a purpose. There is a mission, there's a story, there is an outcome, there's a transformation attached to this group holiday. But The amazing thing is now, because I've been doing this for a few years, is I see opportunities for retreats everywhere. Every time I see a niche audience of any sort, the local bowling club down the road, hey, you could run a retreat where everybody goes bowling in a destination somewhere. People who play golf, you could run a retreat where people do golf. You could have a retreat for divorced women or something, where lots of divorcees get together, and then, wow, what an incredible week. So a retreat can be whatever you want it to be. And the thing that I want to highlight here is that so much of the value of a retreat is actually just in you selecting people and bringing complementary people together. You do not need to worry that like 90% of everything is going to come down to what you do and say during your time with these people, because just putting good people together who are into the same stuff for a period of time where they have no responsibilities, where the food and the shelter and the program and everything's taken care of, that is already so good. It's like going on a school excursion, when you were a kid and you're just hanging out with your friends, having an adventure. So, human connection is such a deep need. And we live in a strange time these days where so many of us are just like in little boxes. People are living in apartment blocks, which are like filing units for humans, and you don't even know the person in the next cubicle over. So just providing the ability that like, hey, here's a place, I've organized it, I've got the food, I've got the transport, I've got the program, I want you guys to come. That is already so valuable, and that can take all kinds of shapes and sizes and lengths and destinations, etc. I came up with some ideas here. Ideally, what you want to be doing is, if you're already a coach, if you're already in the business of helping people with problems, then obviously you want your retreat ideally to be about the same topic that you're already helping people with. That is the easiest option. If you're just starting out, then you want to think about what you want to serve people with. Like, what could you do for the next 100 years? Don't do something that you think you should do. Do what actually lights you up, and do what resonates with your own transformation, something that you've learned. Remember that you don't need to solve a problem for people necessarily. Even if you just bring them a bit closer to solving the problem, that's already worth it, especially when it's inside of a container, like an amazing holiday where they make a bunch of friends, right? But let's say, if you are a female empowerment coach, then you would run a women's retreat that's about empowerment. If you are somebody who focuses on, divorce and grief, which I don't know how many coaches there are that focus on this, but I realized recently that this is such a big need. There's so many individuals out there who've lost their partners or who've been divorced, and then they're sitting there by themselves. And it's like, if you could gather a bunch of them together and put them in a place for a week where they can all connect, then like, wow, what an incredible thing. Suddenly you have the best social life you've ever had in your entire life with other people who actually get where you're at. If you're a money mindset coach, you could create an abundance retreat, and you do this in a destination that relates to the topic, something abundant. If you're a health coach, you could create something like the Elevate and Shine retreat, where there's an organic food and everything else. Or if, an easy one, if you're a relationship coach, make a couples retreat, call it the honeymoon couples retreat or something. That would be, so easy in my eyes to create a concept around. Now, a big mind shift I want to install here is something I learned from Russell Brunson, the founder of ClickFunnels, which is that you don't need to create the traffic, okay? Everybody thinks like, oh my God, I need to create all of these eyeballs and this interest. And it's like, you should think about it slightly different. You should think about it like this. The traffic is already there. There are people who want what you are offering, okay? There are people, and they're gathering somewhere. They're looking at certain things. So what you need to do is, rather than building this thing and then trying to create interest, what you should ideally do is you create something for an existing stream of people that exist out there, and then you put your thing in front of that stream, okay? So that means you could find Facebook groups that relate to the transformation that you have. You really need to get in the head, and I'm going to talk about this at length in a moment, but like, you really need to get into the head of the person that you want to attend your retreat, to think about like, what are they looking at? What do they resonate with? Where are they gathering? What are they consuming? And then find a way to position and put your offering in front of them, okay? So now the next thing is a big epiphany that I had is, when people think about retreats, they always think about international retreats, right? Like, you're always like, oh, wow, I got to go to Bali. I got to go to wherever. I'm going to challenge that, because when you think about it, what is a retreat? Is the destination that important? Don't get me wrong, it's a great cherry on top and it can definitely help, of course. But if you are marketing and setting up this thing the right way, when it's focused on an actual transformation with a specific customer and a pain point, then the destination doesn't really matter so much. In fact, the more accessible and safe and predictable the destination, the better. So what I will suggest here is, if you are living in a city, for instance, you might not actually want to go and try to send everyone to some foreign country where there's all this friction and extra costs and questions associated with it. Find a place near your city. Find it within an hour or 2 hours drive, right? Because there are all kinds of benefits if you do this. And you can still do international retreats, but if you're just starting, I highly recommend start with a domestic retreat. Okay, this makes it so much easier. The barrier to entry goes so far down. I've run retreats primarily overseas. Okay, I started straight overseas, and I got to say, it can be challenging. Okay, now it will be easier after everything I'm going to teach you, but it's like, if you just run it straight outside of a city or in the same country or something, my God, there are so many things that get easier. For instance, the cost is going to get a lot lower because your guests don't have to pay for flights. Wonderful. You can test the quality. Let's say you live in the UK or something, or if you're in the US, you're probably going to trust that whatever venue you're renting inside of the US is going to be of a certain standard. If you're renting it in Indonesia, it might be filled with mold. There might be leaking, fucking whatever. Now, also, if it's within a driving distance from where you are, like within 2-3 hours, it means you can drive to the venue beforehand, which means all kinds of things. You can make sure it's all good. You can talk to the actual owners, see whether you can maybe change some bed configurations, put some extra single beds, get the occupancy up, for instance. You'll be able to create some content of the place, take some photos, get some videos, which otherwise you won't be able to unless you fly to whatever country, right? Also, repeat business will be so much easier because you'll have guests who want to come again, but you'll also have guests who then go back home and they're like, oh my God, I had the most amazing week and it's only like 2-3 hours away and they're hosting another one 3 months from now. You should go as well. So there's a lot of benefits in not casting your mind so far out there. And what you can do instead is do a bunch of domestic retreats and then host your international retreat that you then market to all of the people who've come to your domestic retreats, because they'll be like, wow, I want to do one again and I want to go to the one overseas. Sorry, I think I just bumped my mic there. So the next question is, how long should a retreat even be? Now, most people think it should be a week, but I got to tell you, it doesn't need to be a week. Okay. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. And especially if you're just starting out, start with something over a weekend. I've had people do this program, who've done retreat launch, and they've done 1-day retreats to begin with, and they just managed to sell them out, right? And so you could do a 1-day retreat with no accommodation if you really wanted to. And like I said, there was some contention with other people in this space who'll be like, that's not a retreat. But I'm like, whatever, semantics. It's a gathering of people for a purpose, okay? So start with a weekend experience and get used to it. The overheads are going to be a lot lower. The friction's going to be a lot lower. People can leave on, Saturday morning or something and arrive in the morning at the venue and then leave on Sunday night, or they could take Friday off and then, come on Friday morning, and then it's like a 2-night retreat. So to be honest, I'm a bit of a cowboy, so I just went all in and went to like Mykonos, baby. But in all honesty, if you are a little more averse to taking that much risk and you want to also just have an organic approach to just slowly growing your database, your awareness, your skill set, I would honestly recommend start with a 1-day thing, then move on to a weekend retreat, then try a longer, proper experience with a big journey, for over multiple days. Because there is a wonderful thing that happens when you gather people for multiple days. After a day or two, everyone's kind of been sniffing each other's butts like puppies, getting to know each other. And then by day 3, everyone becomes best friends. And then by the end of 5-6 days, they're like family. That's expect everyone to be crying by the end of the retreat because they don't want to go home. That's what happens every single time. But you could do a 5 to 7 day retreat domestically, and then eventually you can add the cherry on top and find an amazing place overseas, Costa Rica, Greek islands, Mexico, whatever it is. Doing it this way, I find, is lower risk. It's higher reward, because it's a higher chance of success, and you can just build momentum. Does that all make sense? I am trying to pump through this. I hope I'm not overwhelming you guys right now. I can see Tony here wrote that you booked your first retreat facility in Crete. That is wonderful. Crete is an amazing place. I've been there multiple times. Let me know in the chat if everything makes sense so far. I know I'm just starting pretty broad right now. I'm going to keep zeroing into more specific things. So while I wait for the chat to update, because I think it's always a couple minutes delayed, I'm going to tell you now about the retreat launch formula. This is the formula that I use for my retreats business. Okay, wonderful. I can see everything's updating. So this is the formula that I use. Okay, and these are all the downloads I've had over the last 12 years. So number one is to clarify and identify, which is about finding your ideal customer's specific pain. Then it's connecting and serving, which is getting attention, building trust, and gaining authority with those people. Then you invite and seduce them. You're going to love step 3. There's some serious gold in there. So you want to stop chasing and you want to attract instead. Number 4 is you want to choose and then close them. You want to get them over the line, but get the right people over the line. And that means selecting and engaging your ideal attendees. And then the last bit is obviously the whole show, which is delivering and transforming people by executing an amazing retreat. There is also one extra thing that I will recommend to do afterwards, which is to support the integration post-retreat. And this is also a wonderful way to continue the energy of the retreat beyond the retreat, and also create an ongoing residual income stream for you, because you're providing value to people who want that value. All right, so let's get into it. Clarify and identify. So the big question is, who are you talking to? And I mean specifically, granularly. This is something so many people will be like, yeah, of course, I know exactly what you mean. But are you doing the actual work, right? What I'm talking about is the easiest way that you can fully connect with someone, with your concept, with your marketing, with your advertising, with your content, with your program, your itinerary, your copy, everything, is you need to know exactly who you're speaking with. And what I mean by that is one person. Okay, this is called a customer avatar in online business. A lot of you guys, I'm sure, already know this, but it means literally pick a photo of a person and create a persona. Say, all right, this is Jennifer, and she is 28, and she went through a breakup, and her family is like this, and her relationships are like this, and she always has these problems, and these are her favorite movies. This is the kind of food she loves. This is how much money she makes. This is what time she wakes up in the morning. The reason you do this is by having such a clear image of who this person is, it just allows you to communicate with them in a much more targeted way, so that you can actually connect with their emotions. Sorry guys, I'm just getting slightly lightheaded here. This has happened a couple times before when I've done this, because I'm talking so much, all the oxygen is leaving my body the whole time. I'm just going to grab some water right here next to me. One moment. Okay, so you need to do the homework and do the work to really get clear. And I mean, ideally, you print a photo of someone. There is a website you can use. Write this down. thispersondoesnotexist.com. It's a image generator of people that don't exist. You just keep refreshing until you find a photo of someone. They don't exist, but they now exist in your imagination. Okay, save that photo, print it out, hang it on the wall. Okay, and then you need to literally build an exact persona. Okay, if your retreat is targeted at too many different people, then it targets no one. Okay, what you want is that the person, when they see your sales page, when they see your content, whatever it is, you want them to be like, oh my God, this person's speaking exactly to me. And they're not talking on the surface, they're talking, they know me. Okay, and you figure this out in various ways. You can interview people, you can research a lot online, read comments on social media posts that look like they're targeted at those people, etc. Now, There's this concept called the hero's journey. Everyone's heard about this, right? And now I read a couple books about how this relates to marketing, especially. There's a book called Building a Story Brand, which is a really good book, highly recommended. Now, here's the thing. Most people are selfish, okay? Humans are selfish. It's not that something's wrong with us. It's just that we are more focused on what we want and what we need naturally as a survival tactic. So we are always thinking about me, 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 me. Most people are so worried about what everyone else is thinking about them, but like newsflash, they're more consumed with what you're thinking about them and all of their own stuff. Then, so you don't even need to worry about that, right? This is an epiphany I had from being a meditation teacher, which totally decimated my social anxiety about 10 years ago, because I realized, like, holy crap, no one's actually thinking about me at all. So I can just be whoever I want to be, right? Now, here's the thing. So everybody's selfish. Everybody's thinking about themselves. Which means that when you build your first retreat, it's very easy to fall into a trap, which is to say, hi guys, I made this retreat and I this and I that, and it's exactly what I wanted. So I made this and I did this. Don't do that. Okay. What you want to do is you want to immediately start by speaking to them. And here's the thing. What does a hero not need? Because everybody is the hero of their own journey, including your customer, right? What does a hero not need? They don't want to meet another hero. They don't want to hear about how awesome you are and how great you are that you built a retreat and yada, and you had all this success and whatever. Like that, all that does is make them feel inferior, right? What you want instead is to position yourself in a way where it's like, hey, and this is why choosing a transformation for your retreat that you yourself have experience with, that you in your own life have overcome, is so important. You want to be able to say that, like, hey, I see you, you've got this problem, right? I've already overcome that. Let me help you. Okay. So straight away, you are the helper. You are the guide. Okay. You are Morpheus in Matrix. You are, Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda in Star Wars. You are Mr. Miyagi. Think of yourself as that. You are chaperoning them. You are guiding them. And this has to go into every single part of your marketing and everything else. Okay. So, the transformation is the way, okay? You need to find a problem that these people have, that your one person has, and choose to solve that problem or address that problem during your retreat concept, okay? This is the difference between talking about features and saying, like, I rented an amazing venue and we're going to do yoga and we're going to do whatever, which is like, don't get me wrong, that sounds like it makes sense, but it doesn't make people take action. What you need to say is, like, if you're talking to divorced women, okay, you might say, like, I bet you feel lonely. I bet you feel like you're holding on to things. I'm sure you feel like you've lost, you've lost your groove and you want to get that back, right? So I created a container where I'm bringing people together who have gone through this. Maybe you yourself have gone through it, so you can identify the emotions involved, and so that people go, okay, you know what, this person actually gets me. They built something specifically for me to help me with my problem. The biggest thing, the biggest key is to find a problem and identify a transformation, a journey to help them with that problem, okay? Now, then everything has to be built around this. Now, and what I really want to highlight here is that you need to learn about unconscious desires. Okay, unconscious desires are the real reason why people take action. Now, someone will, a guy will buy a Ferrari and he's like, oh, I bought it because it's Italian engineering and I love this engine, whatever. That's not why you bought the Ferrari. You bought the Ferrari because you're probably trying to flex on your friends, you're trying to impress women, and you want to tell your parents that you made it. Okay. There's a great story, which is, imagine you had a fertilizer company and they're selling fertilizer. Okay. And they write about how it's the most amazing fertilizer. It's filled with 500 nutrients and it's organic and all this kind of stuff. No one buys it. Change that sign to have a lawn your neighbor will be jealous of. And suddenly it flies off the shelves. It's because people don't really want a nice lawn. What they want is that the neighbors think that they have a nice lawn. They want their kids to be able to enjoy the lawn. Like, there's all these other reasons that are actually emotional that are underneath the logical reasoning faculty. Okay. So learn to identify those deeper emotional triggers. Now, take a screenshot of this, because these are some of the most common unconscious desires that you could tap into and see which one of these relates to the transformation that you're offering. Does it make people feel like they belong, for instance? We have a self-love retreat, so that would fall under love and affection, because most people are suffering with a not enough syndrome. So then on our retreat, we address that by getting them to meditate, getting them to journal, getting them to let go of the stories by creating a new story, using a burn ceremony, and all of this stuff, having sharing circles where people can feel like they're being heard, and at the same time they're hearing that everybody else is dealing with the same shit. So by the end of the week, they're like, wow, you know what? I am actually worthy of love, of my own love. I'm actually pretty awesome. And it works. It's a rite of passage. People come as one version of themselves with a problem, and then they leave having addressed that problem enough that they feel like a new chapter has begun after the retreat. And it really works. And it's why our self-love retreats sell like hotcakes. So let me know in the chat whether this makes sense. I hope that one hit home. This is a really key thing. And this goes into everything, okay? Not just your retreats business. If you're trying to convince someone of something, you're negotiating, you're building a course, you're doing whatever it is, you're creating online social content, think about those deeper reasons and learn how to connect with those. Okay, perfect. So here's a personal example, for instance. When we built our meditation course in 2016, right, I first came at it from features, right? So I built a sales page and I said, 28 videos to teach you how to meditate, an ancient practice made simple, and, a guide of 128 BPM audio or something. I just kept focusing on the surface, okay? And it didn't really work. Then I learned about unconscious desires, and I looked at the page and I was like, okay, who are we talking to? Well, we're talking to a 23-year-old girl with anxiety. All right, cool. So I changed the header to the website and I wrote, your secret weapon against anxiety. Okay, so that's the problem. And think about it. It's like I'm a guide giving my secret weapon to the hero, basically, right? So step one, okay, cool, anxiety. That's the real problem. And then the subtext was something like, access an inner sense of calm, feel at ease in any situation, have the best mental health out of anyone something like that. And it made a big difference. Suddenly, with the same marketing, same everything else, same amount of traffic, the conversions like quadrupled, because I actually led with the problem and I identified what is the problem. And something else I want to also highlight here is that you don't need to become a master copywriter and show off with your words. Actually, that's one of the worst things that you can do. It's so much easier than that. What you need to do is you need to find the words and thoughts that are in your customer's head. What are they saying to themselves? So in terms of our self-love retreat, it's, I don't feel enough. Okay, cool. So the enough word is a key word that you want to put throughout it. It's not about saying like an exquisite experience of extraordinary, like that's not what it's about. What you want is your marketing needs to grab people's attention and it just needs to go straight into their head, okay? Without them having to think too much and what does that word mean or what is she trying to say? It's like it should just go straight in. You should start by affirming a belief that they have. Like, life can be stressful. Oh, yeah, that's true. But wouldn't it be great if you knew how to deal with stress? Oh, yeah, that would be great. Stress is actually manageable. Huh? In natural ways. Huh? I don't know, but like you don't want people to get lost in their head. You don't want them to zone out. So keep your wording simple, keep it emotional, and actually repeat what's in people's heads to get their attention, to make them feel heard. An easy way to do this is to find social media content that relates to your topic and look at the comments, look at the words that people are using and go, okay, cool. Here are like keywords I'm going to start using throughout my sales page, my sales video, everything else. Okay. So the biggest thing is, all I can say is don't skip this work. It's so easy to just gloss over this, to be like, yeah, I think I know who I'm talking to. Trust me, you're not going deep enough. Okay. Spend hours, spend days, go super, super deep. Ideally, if you have it in you, interview people, make a type form, which is a survey, Google survey platform, typeform.com. Okay. And like, make a bunch of questions that are open-ended and ask, like, how does this problem affect you on a daily basis? What would your life look like if you solved this problem? What do you think are the biggest challenges you're dealing with right now related to this problem? And then let people, ask them, hey guys, and this is actually, if you do this is actually a great way to build a little bit of a list of people, right? So what you can do on social media, I'm just quickly diverting, just giving you a super amazing little strategy. Okay. Wait until, if you have Instagram, for instance, wait until your stories are gone. Okay. Pick a time that's your highest traffic. Take a photo of yourself smiling as the first photo, because the algorithm loves that, a full frontal selfie, and say, attention or help. I need some help from you guys, click next, and then say, I want to put together an amazing transformational retreat with people who are dealing with insert the problem here. Can you help me get some more information or something? And then, and then you link the type form. People want to help, especially people who have this problem. There's going to be people who are interested in what you're talking about. There's people who want to just express what they're dealing with. There's people who want to be on your list. And then you can also say that, like, if you fill it out, you'll be the first person I'll tell once I've got this amazing retreat put together. And so then you can start gathering data, but you also might get, 20, 30, 50 people who are your first people to contact. And if you put in there also phone number, email, etc., it means when the time comes, you can literally message them one by one and be like, hey, thanks so much for giving me your input when I asked, I found an amazing place, and here it is. And you can have a one-on-one conversation with them, and they're going to feel so much more invested. So they're helping you design the retreat, but you're also actually using this as a little bit of a launch strategy in some essence. Okay, cool. So action steps. Number one is look at your own story, look at your own life. What are the pain points you've overcome? Where can you be the guide? For instance, right now, I'm being your guide because I've done 31 retreats and you want to run retreats. Okay. I've been through the pain and the ball ache of trying to get all of this stuff to click finally. And I've put in the hard yards. So now I'm perfectly equipped to be Obi-Wan Kenobi to you guys, right? So what is the problem? What are the problems that you've solved? What are the things that you excel at? Have you got a great relationship dynamic? Have you got a great, amazing ability to control your stress levels because you do certain modalities? Whatever it is, figure out what your story is, where you have your edge. And like I said, you don't need to be the be all end all. Even if you just bring people a little bit further on their journey, it's already more than worth it. I'm like taking deep breaths in. Okay, next thing is to research, interview, and observe to find the pain point that you can solve, right? Like go deep on that. Next one is identify the language and the emotions involved, the unconscious desires, the emotional trigger points, and then what are the keywords that people are using related to this, and make yourself a little sheet, because this is the stuff that you're going to use when you're building out your sales page. The best thing you want to do is when you look at the hero's journey is always like, the hero is called to action and goes on a journey. They meet a guide. The guide gives them a plan, and then they go and calls them to action. And then they take the plan, and then either they succeed or they fail. And ideally they succeed, and then they come back home at the end and they're back in the original place, but they are changed, right? So what you see right there is there was that section about a plan. So if on your sales page and in your videos, you can say, you're dealing with this problem. We are going to go to this place, and then we're going to do this activity, and then we're going to look at this issue, and then we're going to have this, we're going to do, here is my journey that I've built for you guys. Whether it's a 1-day experience or a 7-day experience or a 14-day experience, create a before and after state. Who are they before they come? Who are they after? What is the journey in between that? And find a way to articulate it simply, elevator pitch that shit, okay? So that they're like, wow, okay. Because if someone's dealing with a problem for a long period of time and now they hear you being like, I can solve your problem, I can help you with that problem, I've figured out like a 4-step plan, it's going to take 2 days, and this is what we're going to do, and you can join, right? Like now they know that, like, well, I should probably do something about this problem, right? Like if this person just told me that they've got the answer, and I can even see what the plan is. So like, if I don't do something now, that's my own, like I'm just sitting on my problem now like an idiot. So Do you guys get what I'm trying to say? All right, cool. Does it make sense? Drop me a big yes in the chat if what I've given you so far is making sense and it's hitting home. Okay, great. I can see a few yeses already in the chat. Okay, this is great. All right, so the next step is to connect and serve. Okay, and this one requires a bit more. This requires you to put yourself out there. So here's the thing you need to realize: there's a lot of scammers in the world these days. People are burnt out. People are paranoid about strangers on the internet. So if you're going to invite someone to come to your retreat, to open up, to be vulnerable, maybe to travel to Mexico or something, you can't weirdo on the internet who wants their money and wants to scam them, whatever else, right? Like, people have trust issues. You need to make them care so that they're going to be like, you know what? I think I can actually trust this person. I think I can put my trust in them. So I'm going to invest and I'm going to go with them to this thing. So now, to highlight this, I want to tell you a story because I had this big epiphany like years ago. Years ago, a friend of mine told me about this musician, and he said that this guy was homeless. He was a teenager. He was living in an abandoned house, but he was super talented musically. And so after a couple of years, he ended up recording some amateur songs and uploaded them on YouTube anonymously. They started picking up and going viral, and everyone's like, "Who is this person? Who is this person?" Now, fast forward a few years, and this guy was now selling out arenas and was basically one of the most successful musicians in the world. Can you guess who I'm talking about? I'm talking about The Weeknd. Okay, you've probably heard about The Weeknd before. Now, when I heard that story, something interesting happened, right? Because my friend told me this big impassioned story, and then I found that after that, for the next couple of weeks or more, anytime someone would bring up music or anything else, I'd be like, "Oh my God, did you hear, there's this guy and he was homeless and he had and then suddenly he had this big transfer, he had this big hero's journey," right? And then I tell everyone to listen to The Weeknd. And the funny thing is, I had not even really listened to much of The Weeknd. I'd listened to 2 or 3 of his songs, and they were really good. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like I became obsessed with The Weeknd. It's just because compared to all the other musicians that I knew of, he was a guy whose story I knew. I knew the pain he'd overcome. I knew what adversity he had faced. So I felt familiar with him, and now I felt confident to recommend him to other people. He took up valuable real estate in my brain because he didn't even share, but a friend of mine shared with me his vulnerable story. And so that highlights that, you need to bridge this little step. People need to know who the hell are you. This is why in the beginning of this webinar, I told you guys for about 15 minutes what I've overcome, all the mental health stuff and the business struggles and everything else, because now you're like, oh, well, now I know Chris's story. So it makes you connect with people on a totally different level. So you need to not assume that people are just going to trust you. You need to actually let them in, show them, be vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, it opens up people to be vulnerable as well. Okay. So the question is, what's your story? As I said at the end of step 1, right? Identify what is your story. And then you need to actually find a way to get your story out there. And now we live in a wonderful time where there's all these social media platforms, which we take for granted. We take for granted that we now as individuals have the marketing and advertising power that was previously held by giant companies who had to pay millions of dollars for newspaper and television ads just 20 years ago. Now, any random person can do it. And so, you have platforms like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And, this is an entire webinar in and of itself, just going into each one of these platforms. But get good, get comfortable with putting yourself out there. Okay. Use this medium. You have cameras everywhere. Learn how to film yourself and present something. I'm sure a lot of you guys are already doing this. If you're a coach, I know that you're using, Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or something. By the way, I put YouTube here twice. But also, I heard from one of our students, actually, she used Facebook groups. And it really made me think about how Facebook groups are an amazing opportunity, because when you post in it, people look at your profile and then there's so many ways to connect and chat. A little bit different than Instagram, where, it's just this throwaway content kind of thing. But Facebook groups are really an amazing way to build one-on-one connection. But the biggest thing is you want to make problem-aware content. This goes back to step one, right? You need to know what their problems are, and you need to lead with the problem using the words and the emotions that they're feeling, okay? Focus on them first, and then relate how you can help because you overcame something. So become a content creator, okay? That's all I can say. And you don't need to, dance on TikTok or something. Just realize that it's an incredible thing that you can just push record, speak genuinely, and so long as you are thinking about them first, you don't start wafting and start carrying on about whatever. You actually focus on like, hey, I'm here to help you. So, let me start with a great hook. Like for instance, I'm building an app right now to help people with blood pressure. So it made me think, if I make a video ad on Facebook that starts with blood pressure doesn't need to ruin your life, then anyone with blood pressure is immediately like, huh? You're talking to me. Yeah, because I feel like it's ruining my life. I'm bloody worried all the time about my blood pressure. So if I start with that and then I go, hey, I tell them a story about how my grandma has blood pressure problems, and I did a meditation with her and I saw her blood pressure lower by like 20% back into the normal range. That's my story. They go, wow, okay, cool. Now there's a story. You've got my attention. I know you want to help me. You guys get you can see what I'm getting at, right? So we use, for instance, TikTok. We had a lot of success on TikTok. We had a bunch of stuff go viral. I've also used TikTok ads, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in this presentation. TikTok is cool because you can have stuff, as long as you make the stuff real concise and you start really strong, there's a certain formula to it, and it's all about testing. It can be really powerful. Same with Instagram, Shorts and Reels. But there's also one of my favorite platforms actually is YouTube. And if you stick with me to the end, I'm going to share with you guys some incredible stuff about what I've been able to do on YouTube, which has just been like life-changing. I was actually fortunate enough to save the TikTok handle Retreats. Now, it doesn't really help much in terms of people discovering our stuff, but I just thought, little flex. It's pretty cool that I managed to save that about, I think, 4 years ago or something. But yeah, so you can see we make pieces of content. For instance, you can see this one. This is a bunch of phone videos that we have from our Bali retreat. And then we just wrote, POV, you find an all-girls healing self-love retreat that allows you to let down your walls so you can let go of the beliefs that have been holding you back. You're surrounded by supportive soul sisters, new friendships, and are finally falling back in love with yourself. This also had an amazing audio in the background that was really like touching and emotional, and it just resonated. And so you can see this thing's had like 20,000 likes, 3,000 people saved it, and you can see the comments. People are like, I need this more than anything. I'm so lost. Are you doing any more dates? Oh my God, I love the sound of this. Would you be like, asking their friends, would you be up for this? Why isn't there one in Florida? I want to heal properly. Okay. So you can see like this is content. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to build an audience, okay? And you want to build the audience around your specific transformation. So that's why you share stuff about the problem, and then you also put in content about how you overcame the problem, your story, so that you can build their connection with them while you're serving and helping them. And now at this point, you want to ideally have something called an opt-in, okay? An opt-in is just something, I know probably a lot of you guys are like rolling your eyes right now. You're like, Chris, I already know this. Okay. But I'm going to have to say it anyway for anyone who doesn't know this. So you make the content to get the awareness, then you create something ideally that people want. Okay. So it could be an ebook. It could be a downloadable. It could be a meditation. It could be a webinar. It could be some special video that's hidden, whatever it is, right? You create something, and in exchange for that, you get their contact details. Okay. So you just say, hey, leave your email and I'm going to send you the free thing. And this is how you start building a qualified list of people who are the first people that you're going to talk to when you are like, hey guys, I've got 12 spots to join me at this amazing thing. These people are going to be like, I know you, I trust you, you've already helped me. Oh, you've got my contact details. Cool. You're like, I'm happy to hear from you. I love your shit. So then you build the list, and then these are the people who you then make your offer to for your retreat, and then you convert them. Okay. So I know this is like super top level right now, but I just need to highlight that. Now you can make content that goes straight to your offer as well. Okay. That is possible. But one of the best and easiest ways is just start gathering a contact list, okay, of email addresses and even phone numbers that you can like text people. You know, we use Instagram DMs, we use WhatsApp, and we use like email. Okay, now just remember, relationships are everything, okay? And when you're running a retreat, you only need a tiny group of people. You don't need hundreds and thousands of people to click on your stuff if everything is dialed in, okay? You could literally go down the road and go to a coffee shop and strike up a conversation and be like, you know, and they'll be like, well, you know, what you been up to? You been doing anything? It's like, oh, I'm actually building this amazing retreat concept right now. And that person might be like, oh, tell me more. Cool. There's already one person, you know, maybe you tell them, hey, if you bring a friend, I'll give you 20% discount. Boom. Now you got 2 people. It's the biggest thing I want to highlight here is that when you're making content to get awareness, or when you're talking to anyone ever, okay, but especially when you're making content right now, focus on one person on the other side of the screen. Okay. It's not about, hey guys, and being all general and wide. It's about, hey, you. I know you are trying to run retreats, and I bet you've tried before. I bet you thought about this a lot, and I bet you've been struggling because there's so many things that you could do, and maybe you've even tried some of the stuff and just nobody's listening and no one's resonating. Why is nobody applying? I know what this feels like. Okay. Can you see what I'm doing? It's like, this is because before I started this webinar today, I pictured one person. There's one person who I picture sometimes who's a person who came to our retreats, and she's a coach. So I pictured her on the other side. And I said to myself, if one person shows up today for this webinar, that's good enough for me, because that's all I'm talking to. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So when you're making content, if you're scared about making content, if you're like, oh my God, I'm scared about putting myself out there, just remember, it's just one person, because it's only ever one person watching at one time on the other side. And the more you can connect with them directly and speak to them, the more you're able to actually forge a connection and then serve them. All right, so the action steps for step number 2 is you need to identify and clarify your own personal hero's journey, your story, learn how to condense it, get it down into a few key things. You know, for me, it's I lost my father to suicide. I met a girl who had mental health problems. We went on an 18-month journey and tried everything under the sun. We found a special meditation method. Within weeks, her mental health problems disappeared. That became my purpose in life now, to spread this far and wide in whatever concept, in apps, in courses, in retreats, in everything else. That's my story right there in 20 seconds. You know, then you want to share your story far and wide. Okay, put it out there. You put it out there and then see who resonates. Then you want to offer something of value, ideally, to build your list, or have your amazing offer right there ready to go for people that resonates, that's speaking to them. And then, you know, really remember, like there's this Gary V thing, you know, of like jab, 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 right hook, which means you need to serve people first. You need to give them stuff first, get them to trust you, get them to see that you're genuine, that you actually want to help them, that you're not just in it for the money. You're not just in it because you're, you know, whatever. It's not just about your own ego. You have a genuine urge and need, a calling in yourself to help people. And the best way you can demonstrate that is to over deliver, give first, and trust that stuff will come back. And this is where content can be such a great way for you to solve people's problems if you're making problem-specific content on these different platforms. Okay, so number 3, this is my favorite part actually, and I'm a little bit of a savage, but you're going to love this. So number 3 is to invite and seduce. Okay, so this means obviously you need to make your offer, which is your sales page. Okay, like what is the program? What are you offering? What's the transformation? All that stuff. What's the pricing? What are the dates? Where is it? All these things, you need to figure that out, put together your sales page. Ideally, you make a VSL as well. You don't need to have an incredible sales page with the best graphic design and the best copy if you can make a good video. Okay, if you can make a good video, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and you share your story and you share your intention and you tell them about, well, you know, how you're going to solve these issues, and you focus on the emotions, and then you focus on the features. You know, so I found this amazing place and we're going to go for 5 days and here's the itinerary and all that stuff. I have a theory that if you literally made a sales page that just has a video, versus an entire sales page with no video, but like all this stuff, I still think the video one would convert better. So, this is what's called a VSL, a video sales letter. And there is a specific time-tested strategy that you can use for like the structure. Okay. Once again, you don't lead with features, you lead with the emotions, the hook, your personal story, all those things. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to tell you how you guys can access an actual structure that will help you with this. Now, here's a big one. I love this. Desperation is a stinky cologne, even in Berlin. Okay, so I want to talk about energetics. Have you guys ever heard of a nightclub in Berlin called the Berghain? All right, it's probably one of the most famous clubs in the world, as famous as Studio 54 at this point. Why is this place so famous? It's a big ancient Eastern European power station, okay, and that plays techno. The reason it's so famous is because they turn away about 60% of the guests, okay? So everyone standing in these queues for sometimes for up to 3, 4, 5 hours are just thinking, I hope I get in, I hope I get in. So the Berghain does not spend a lot of money or time or intention on marketing. They're not telling everyone how awesome they are. They have created an energy where people are coming to them, okay? And it's because they are selective, because they have learned to put themselves, they know their own self-worth. And so this is a huge, huge part of running a retreat, because I see this mistake that people make nonstop. When you first get excited about running retreat, it's so easy to, and here's the thing. Enthusiasm goes a long way, okay? But if you make a sales page, you come up with your venue, your offer, and you start forcing it on people, you start being like, hey, you should really come to my retreat. If you sit down at a coffee shop and someone asks you what you've been up to, be like, oh, I made this retreat, maybe, do you want to come? You can already sense energetically, people will be like, oh, maybe I'll let you know, right? But if you were sitting there and you were saying, if someone was like, well, you've been doing anything cool lately? You'd be like, I'm actually putting together a transformational retreat. And then you just waited. They'll be like, what's that? You'd be like, well, it's like a journey where, people with this problem, they will come and we're going to have an amazing time in between. And at the end, people solve that problem. And they'll be like, really? Tell me more. Can you see how, because you're not forcing, because you're holding back, people will start leaning in more. Now, during 2021, when I was doing a lot of research on a lot of things, there was a huge epiphany that I had. Okay, I watched a training from a coach that was all about energetics, and it was like 2 hours long. But the biggest thing that came of it was a certain realization, and it's this: when there's a feminine and a masculine principle, and I'm sure some of you guys as coaches already know about this, right? But there is a different way of doing things, right? There's this gooey, potential, holding back, seducing way of doing things. And then there's this forceful, clear, direct way of doing things. Most people are stuck in this forceful, logical, just pushing it kind of mentality. And when you first start any business or any venture, it's very easy to fall into that energy and just be trying to force your way through it. Now, here's the realization, okay? If somebody is interested in your retreat and they get to the point where it's like, hey, fill in your details, or, oh, here's a checkout link, and now it's time for them to pay the deposit. They've got to drop $500 or $1,000 to save their place. Then now think about you have this person sitting there with a credit card on the computer, and they start punching in numbers, and they start putting in an expiry date, and and then they initiate a transaction. What energy does that feel like? It's masculine. So what you have to realize here is your customer has to be in the masculine if you want them to effortlessly get over the line at the end and actually commit. If you're both in the masculine, it repels, okay? It repels. People will start backing away. So you need to find ways in order for them to be the ones chasing you. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this. So basically, An easy way also, I already gave an example before, but like picture this, for instance, in dating. All right. If I am asking someone out on a date, if there's a girl I like down the road and I want to go on a date with her, if I'm like, hey, on the weekend, do you want to come with me to this club down the road and yada, 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 she'll probably be like, oh yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'll let you know. Right. If instead I said, on the weekend, I'm going to that club, there's this amazing event on, it's going to be super fun. Be really cool if you came too. If you want to go, let me know. I'd love to see you there. The detachedness, the fact that I'm not trying to put them in a box, makes it interesting, makes it curious. It's like, I'm going to go and have an amazing time. And then it's like, oh, I want to come too. Right? So what does this look like in terms of your retreat? Well, it means you need to know this. You need to have a lot of self-worth around your retreat. You need to have the ability to choose the right guests, okay? You need to not be like a hover parent where you're just trying to serve them as much as possible up front and trying to make sure or whatever. You need to be a little more detached. You need to be a little more cool, okay? And this goes into everything, okay? There's many different ways that you can achieve this energy. One of the biggest ones is having a thorough application process. A lot of people who I teach how to run retreats, they're like, oh, I was just going to let anyone go. I was just going to give people links and just buy. And I'm like, don't do that. Okay. Have people apply and make it a big application form. Okay. Because you want to know who these people are. And also you're communicating to these people that you care about who comes, number one. And you're also communicating that like, oh crap, I might not get in. Like, I hope this person chooses me. So you're already creating that energy, that Berkheim energy. Okay, so 100%, you need an application form. The way you speak about your retreat on the page shouldn't be like, I really hope you come. We hope you will join us there. Don't do that. What you do instead is you say, this is going to be an incredible retreat. Okay, this is going to be a rite of passage. This retreat is a call to those who are ready to overcome these problems. And if you're chosen, you are invited to apply. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how there's like a slight change of like, I'm not just going, oh, please come, please come. Desperation is a stinky cologne, they say. Okay, so you need to learn to become cool about it. It's like, of course my retreat is going to sell out. That is how you manifest this as well, okay? Of course my retreat is going to sell out. Of course people are going to come. Of course they're going to have the most amazing time. Of course they're going to solve their problems. Of course I'm going to boss this thing. Of course this is going to be the best week of their life, okay? That level of self-confidence is magnetic, and you need to put it all the way through, from the first pieces of content to your sales page, to your VSL, to your application form, to what you do afterwards in terms of like when you actually offer them a spot. So, the major takeaway here is, if you put your guests on a pedestal, they're going to look down on you. Okay. So don't fall into this, like, I need to provide the best customer service ever. I find a better energy is to think of it like this. There's a group of friends who are going to go on a holiday, and you're the cool friend. You're the leader of the group who organizes everything. You're like, guys, I got the villa, so it's, if you have a bit more of that energy, my God, it goes so far. I'm going to give you a quick example of how this changed for me. Okay. Before 2020, what I used to do was I had these sales pages that were just focused on features and so much text and just like, oh my God, we're going to this amazing place and this, food and whatever. It's like, I wasn't focused on the right things. And then people would apply a super short application form with like 5 questions. Half of it was basically 10 questions. Half of it was contact details. And then I would send them an email this long with all this information. Hey, thanks so much for applying. It's going to be amazing. And here's everything that you might need, and yada, 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 yada. Totally over communicating, because I was using my logical mind. I thought, well, they need to have all the information in order to make a decision. And no. That's not it. I took away all the tension. I collapsed all the tension. I made them feel like they're accepted. They can get it. It's theirs now. The power's in their court now. And so what would happen? These people would get the email and then they'd procrastinate and then they'd forget. And the result was that it would took so many applications in order to get somebody to actually convert. And in order to get them to convert was a lot of effort, a lot of messaging back and forth. Also, a lot of pain in the ass questions, because people were like, because I was being customer service. I was basically being a concierge who was desperate to have them as a guest in my hotel. So after the pandemic, when we reopened our doors, after I totally reshuffled everything, I got rid of all the "I hope you come" and all this stuff. And I just said, this is going to be an amazing retreat. You would be so lucky to be here. And you don't do this in an egotistic way, but like you find the nice middle ground that feels natural for you, right? But just remember, it's like you're eye to eye with them and you've made something really cool that they can join you for. So, you're even a tiny bit above in that sense, like, hey, I made something cool, like you want it or not. So when I changed that, we for instance, added so many questions to the application form. And I'm going to go into in a moment why I did that as well. But so they filled out this huge application form and then they have to wait to hear back. Okay. So they're like, oh God, I hope I get accepted. And then what we would do is, when we first opened our doors in 2022, I literally would send them a WhatsApp message or an Instagram DM. And I just said, hey, Shelley, we saw your application. We would love for you to join. We would love to offer you a place. Let me know when you get this. Send a message this short. And then you just wait. Then I would send the next person's message and the next person's message and the next person's message. And then after, half an hour or 5 hours or 10 minutes, this person would write back and be like, hey, it's, thanks so much. I'm so excited. What's next? And I say, next? Do you have any questions about the experience? Let me know if you have any questions. I'm not desperate. I'm the exact opposite. So they're like, how do I get there? And, is there a payment plan? Half the time the people would literally say, how can I pay? And I'm like, wow, that's a big shift to before 2020. What the hell? So I would hold back and just send these short messages, these short detached messages. I'd love for you to be there, but I don't need you to be there. And these people would be the ones leaning forward. Right. And so in the beginning, I was even saying, I was like, well, I could set up a checkout link for you. Would you like me to do that for you? And because when I watched this training, the girl said, you should literally have them ask you for the checkout link. And so I did that in the beginning. These days, I don't do it so much anymore because we've got so much demand. But in the beginning, when I first opened it, I'd say, do you want me to set up the link? As if I was doing them a favor. Right? And they'd be like, yeah, oh yes, please, thank you. And then I go, cool. And I'd send them this checkout link. And so many people started converting, after 3 short messages. Do you know what I mean? It was night and day. Now, before the pandemic, when we needed to raise money for the retreat center, I had 40 spots or something to sell. And it took me over, I think, 6 or 7 months. And it was so much work. There was so much input. Also, the retreat only cost $1,500. It was so cheap. It was cheaper than staying at a hotel, basically, even though you're getting a transformation and all this stuff. After the pandemic, when we reopened, on the right, you see this photo where everyone's sitting at this venue in Canggu. We raised the price to $2,500. And I was able to sell out 30-person retreats within about 2 to 3 months. And the amount of effort dropped down to 20% of what it was previously. So here's an example, by the way. So you can see on the left here, this was one of the sales pages I made. Where the black square is where a video is meant to go. This was our first ever retreat sales page, actually. And you can see what I was kind of messing up, right? I was like, learn meditation and yoga in paradise. Sounds so basic. Enjoy a relaxing holiday. Make new friends. Make new friends. Yeah, that's good. Learn to master your body and mind for better health, less stress and more joy in your life. It's okay, but you could see here, 6 nights, 7 days, all food, luxury accommodation. I'm not really taking a moment to draw them in and let them know I know what their problem is, right? Imagine if instead I said, life is hard, right? Life is stressful. When was the last time you took some time for yourself? And so you can see on the right here for the self-love retreat, there's actually a video above this. This is cut in half here. This would actually say, I said, when was the last time you put yourself first? Because one thing I know is that people who don't feel enough is they don't look after themselves very well. They don't allow themselves to be priority. They're probably just giving and giving and giving. So that is a line that people go, oh yeah, you know what? When was the last time? And if they did put themselves first, they're already halfway towards like, maybe I should book a retreat in Bali. Like, you know what? I'm going to do this. So, the Mindspace Self-Love Retreat is your invitation to reset your nervous system. Oh, yes. Make conscious friends for life. Wow. Do deep work on your belief systems. Okay. Clarify the next chapter of your life. Yeah, most people are lacking clarity. Explore the magical island of Bali. Sounds good. Let go of what no longer serves you. Oh, yes. Okay. And then, this is a rite of passage. Like, this isn't for everyone. That's the energy. This isn't for everyone. It's a journey to return home to your true, limitless, and eternally lovable self. This works much, much better. So I hope you guys can see a little bit of a difference there. Now, here, for instance, these were some of the messages. These are the kinds of messages that we get. I took this screenshot when probably, like a year and a half ago or something, when we first reopened. But you can see it's like everyone's saying, yeah, I was never getting messages like this before. I occasionally get people replying to the email and they'd feel very self-entitled and like, oh, I should be so lucky that they will come. Now I'm suddenly getting like, hi, I know it's a long shot, but just wanted to know if there's still a spot available for the August retreat. Let me book it. Look at this tonight. I would absolutely love to join. Looking forward to getting more information. I'm so eternally grateful. I can't even put into the words together. What an opportunity of a lifetime. Can you see how amazing that is? That you're in giving people the opportunity to join your retreat, and they're literally being so thankful for the opportunity because you tweaked the energy just right. Do you mind sending me the booking link? Hi, Chris, thank you for this opportunity. I can't believe it. Because they were sitting there waiting to hear back, being like, I hope I get chosen for this retreat. And then I'm like, hey, we saw your thing. We love your shit. Would you like to come? We'd love to offer you a spot. It's your privilege. We're extending the privilege to you. This is amazing. Now, what this translated to financially for us is you can kind of see this is what it looks like on my phone quite often. So when we launch a retreat, when we put one up, this is, some, like, I've had $10,000 days many times now, which is wild. But it's now normal. and so just imagine on your phone that you just had every day, a couple transactions coming through from people. We've got, for instance, personally, I have 5 retreats booked for next year. 4 of them are actually outsourced now. I have 2 other coaches doing them for us. And so I probably make a sale every second day at the moment, and I don't have to do any of it because I've given that system now over to an assistant, and I have other coaches who are going to do the retreats for us. And so I'm now free, and I'm teaching people, and I'm also building apps and everything else. Anyway, so action steps. The action steps to because this takes a little while to shift your brain around, to first of all to go from me to what do they want? You'll start seeing opportunities everywhere you look, right? But also, like, think about some of your favorite brands, favorite individuals, and start seeing where you can recognize this pattern, right? Where people who are self-assured, they're not desperate at all. In fact, they kind of walk a higher path. Like Louis Vuitton is not trying to convince anyone to buy a handbag. And that's why everyone's trying to buy the handbag, because they're like, oh my God, they're so cool. Like Rolex, literally, you can't even buy a Rolex these days in a shop. Apparently, my friend buys all these Rolexes. He's always telling me, he's like, you need to know the people in the shop in order for them to give you the opportunity to buy one. And I'm like, wow. Meanwhile, I wear a broken watch on purpose to remind myself that the present moment is all there ever is. But the next one is reflect. I just want you to reflect on your own self-worth and also how special and rare the opportunity is that you are creating for people to join your retreat. Put your retreat a little bit on a pedestal, okay? This is a special thing. You are not a charity. You're not hoping people will go. You are creating something amazing, and people are going to be magnetically attracted to it. And then you are going to be the one choosing the people to join. So these are your action steps, okay? Start figuring out that energy. Where are you being forceful? Where are you being too desperate? Where are you being too, like, showing everything, right? And where can you be a little more cool, a little more held back, a little more self-assured? Okay, then the next one is choosing and closing the right people. Now, sometimes when I train people on this, they, like I said, they want to accept everyone, and I'm saying like, no, you need to choose the right people. You need to choose that avatar that you're speaking to, because not everyone who's applying is going to be the right person for it. And like I said, number one, you're going to create a better energy. Like if you're doing a 5, 6, 7 day retreat, you're going to be spending a lot of time with these people, and they're spending a lot of time with each other. It doesn't require more than one person who's out of alignment to kind of like mess up the energy. So it's your responsibility to have a long application form to really suss people out and choose the right ones. Okay. And like I said, this becomes an advantage in multiple facets, because it creates that right energy, but also during the retreat, you are going to love your retreat so much more if you know you hand selected all these people. Now I'm going to tell a quick story. I don't like to talk shit about people, but I'm a human. Everyone's always talking, making little unconscious things. I do want to share one story, which is when we had the Mindspo Mansion. There was one time where we hosted a retreat. We had a group, I think 15 girls or something coming, and everybody arrives, and I realized something slightly off, because I'd seen the birth dates for everyone that was there, and our customer avatar was between 25 and 27, and suddenly there was one woman there who was more probably in her like late 40s. And now here's the thing. There's no issue with that. We've actually had mothers and daughters join. We've had multiple people in their 50s, even 60s join our retreats, especially when their application form looks great. But like, I wasn't aware that somebody was joining who was in their late 40s. I thought everyone was in their 20s at this upcoming retreat. Now, this woman had basically lied on the application about her age. She was not there for the same reasons that everyone else was there. She had no social skills. She would interrupt constantly during workshops. She wasn't interested in making friends with other people. It became a serious challenge for the week. It became a real mindfulness challenge. Look, by the end of the week, she was actually quite grateful for the experience. But I remember looking back, because having my partner, Rochelle, start a workshop and start speaking, and 90 seconds in, she just starts talking, and everyone just starts rolling their eyes, being like, again? It was so disruptive. And what it taught me was, number one, it only takes one person to collapse the energy in a room. And after this, I ended up beefing up our application process. Okay. One of the biggest things is, I added lots of open-ended questions, like I mentioned before. I also added in that you need to add a photo. Okay, you add a photo, because if somebody is not even willing to show their own face in a photo, then like, I probably don't want them at my retreat, to be honest. And here's the thing. You could definitely create retreat concepts who are for people who are that socially, anxious, who don't want to be seen, etc. 100%. If that's what you're trying to do, then go for it. But like the retreats that I'm trying to do, I'm doing quite a lot of them. And I'm trying to create an energy where people are going to become like family pretty quickly. Okay. So, some of the retreat boundaries that we have, for instance, like I look for red flags. And if I get multiple red flags, like I don't offer people a place. Like I turn to the Baukein, and I probably reject about 30% of our applications. And I know that sounds savage, but it works. It helps. It creates a better energy for us. Running a retreat can take a lot of energy to host. And so if you have somebody there who's not there for the right reasons, who are going to take as much energy in one person as the entire group, and who's actually diminishing the experience for everyone else, then it's your fault for not being a little bit more choosy. Okay. So like, for me, for instance, if somebody has lots and lots of food allergies, like I generally don't offer them a place. And it sucks, but I can't guarantee that the retreat venue made sure that there is no peanut residue and everything else on things. So I'm like, yo, I'm sorry. I've had to deny 2 people in wheelchairs, which made me feel like absolute shit, of course. But at the same time, the retreat venue that I'm using in Bali has a 25-step flight of stairs to the yogashala, and we're going up there 2-3 times a day. There is, they don't have accessibility. They don't even have sidewalks in most of Bali. So, I have to gently let these people down and say that, like, I'm sorry, I don't think this is the right fit for you right now. But, make sure that you're prepared to not accept everyone. That if you're in that right energy, then like you should be choosy. Okay. So now this is also where one of the best tactics comes in, which is actually to do sales calls, right? And you don't need to call it a sales call. Just call it like an introduction call. You want to just get to know these people. If you're going to spend an entire week and you're trying to help these people, you should be able to jump on a quick call for 15 minutes or 30 minutes and actually get to know them. And here's the thing, when you meet these people through the computer first, it's so much easier to actually get them to commit, number one, because they're getting to know you. You're asking them lots of questions. But also, it's so cool when you meet them then at the retreat, because you're like, oh my God, we talked on Zoom, whatever, a year ago, or 6 months or something. But you want to do sales calls. Sales calls, there is a certain structure to it so that it doesn't just become a random conversation, but you are the one in control of the frame, and then they are the ones who are hoping they're being accepted. So the way that you can do that, and at the end, I'm going to show you how you can, I'm going to tell you a way that you can get an entire structure from me when I'm telling you about our program. But basically what you want to do is you want to create a scenario where you're asking them questions, they're answering the questions, and then at the end, you both decide together whether it's right for them. And if it is, if you want to accept, if you don't, you say, all right, I'm going to get back to you. And then you can just email them later that day and say, hey, look, after considering it, I don't think this is the right fit for you at this time. Thank you so much for replying, and yada, yada, yada. But if they are right, in most cases they are, if you're jumping on a call with them, you can then have this amazing moment with them on the call where you say, you know what, look, after everything that we've just discussed, I think that this is an amazing opportunity for you, and I would love to offer you a place. And they'll be like, oh my God. And then they're so excited. You say, look, so right now what we can do is, you can put down a deposit. The deposit is refundable for 14 days. So you've got nothing to lose. So if you still need to sort out some personal things, but that way, at least we can secure your place. And then what you do is they read out their card number to you, and you type it in on your end and just book their place. It works really well, and it's wonderful for the energetics. It's wonderful for qualifying them, the quality control element. It's also like personal development, depending on whether you do a lot of one-on-ones. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys do. So it'll be probably quite normal to you. But for me, when I started doing this, I'd never done sales calls before, but they are just wonderful as a structure. So action steps for step 4 is determine what you need to know. What are the things that you need to know to decide whether this person is right for your specific retreat concept? Okay. If it's a physical retreat, you're going to need to know what their physical health is like. If it's an emotional focus transformation, you need to know what their story is, what they're dealing with, all that kind of stuff. Have they got current active addictions and everything else that they might be? You have to get all that information. Then you want to create a thorough application process. I use typeform.com. I pay like $20 a month for it or something. It's a wonderful survey platform that you can use to create this. You need to define what your boundaries are. What are your red flags? Know what it is that's going to, just make you not want to offer it to someone. And also just overcome the resistance to sell directly. Just remember that you selling someone properly, having the courage to really properly actually know your worth and say, hey, this retreat costs X. Would you like to go? Would you like me to send you a booking link? Just remember, if you're not willing to do that, you're robbing yourself. You're robbing them of their experience. You're robbing, your kids, your family, whatever. It's like, just because you're not mustering up the courage to know your own worth. And, just remember, you're not a charity. You're probably running a luxury holiday experience with a transformation. This is worth a lot of money if people are going to change, transform. So just become comfortable with the fact that it's okay that it costs something. And a lot of people will say, oh my God, this is too expensive. This isn't for me. And you go, yeah, it's not. That's great. It's not for you. If someone's in a total place of crises, for instance, when they apply, I generally don't offer them a place, because I think that if someone's in an absolute state of crisis, there are better ways for them to use their money to create impact sooner, closer to home, with ongoing care. I don't run a halfway house for people with trauma if they're currently in a traumatized state. So just know where your boundaries lie. Okay. All right. By the way, let me know if this is all going good. I'm going to take a quick sip of water here. I think we've done an hour and 20. God, time flies, doesn't it? I'm so glad that you find that this is all helping. I'm really just trying to, yeah, I want to help you guys. I want to make sure that I want you. I know how easy it is to not have the courage to follow through with this and to get self-doubt. Okay, this is why I meditate. But even I still get those little self-doubt stories popping up all the time. And I feel like the more you guys know all of this stuff, the more you'll be able to like actually get in there and create your experience.